What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and we are back with another Ark Insight. And today, we are comparing the Allo versus the Carno. And we're going to determine who is better through our Ark Insight methods, and eventually a battle to the death. Now, if you haven't seen our Ark Insights before, essentially what we do is we go through their stats, their abilities, what they can do and whatnot, and then we put them in a battle to the death to see who is best. Now, let's jump straight into it. Base stats of a level 1 Carno are as follows: 420 health, 300 stamina, 300 weight, 125.8 melee damage. Already there is a significant difference in between health of the Carno and the Allo. You can see here the Allo has 630 health, that's 200 health on top of the Carno, 250 stamina, 380 weight, and 125.8 melee damage. So the Allo has extra health, stamina, and weight over the Carno, which, you know, isn't surprising to be honest. Alrighty, so next up we're going to take a look at their speed. And already you can see the sheer size difference between the two. The Allo is significantly taller than the Carno. Okay, so essentially we made the Carno and Allo run from this point of the rock to the rock that you can see in front of us. Now the Carno managed to do it in just under 5 seconds. You can see there we managed to get the rock at the 5-second mark, which is a pretty solid amount of time. Now the Allosaurus was pretty similar to the Carno in that it pretty much took the same amount of time to get there. Between the two, you couldn't really tell who was the faster dino, so it was a little bit more difficult to determine that test. But you can see here the Allo pretty much gets there in, you know, about 5-6 seconds. I would say pretty much roughly almost the same as the Carno. I'd say the Carno was a little bit faster than the Allo, so do take that into mind when choosing which one of these guys to tame up. Now we then took a look at their swim speed, and the Carno was actually a pretty good swimmer, I must say. His relative decent speed surprised me with his little paddle arms. You can see there, they're hard at work, those little tiny things. They've got to be useful for something. They don't do anything while he's running through the terrain. So the Carno's little arms is what actually propels him forward. I wouldn't have a clue, I'm just making that up. But the Carno does move relatively well in the water. I would say faster than the Allo in the actual water. The Allo, on the other hand, is a little bit slower than the Carno, but still a relatively decent swimmer. Obviously, you're not going to be taking it out for deep, dark ocean treads, but you know, the Allo can easily tread the water and get across rivers, you know, little lakes and whatnot, so don't be too scared to take this guy swimming into lakes and just don't take him out into the deep dark ocean. Okay, so next up we tested their turning radius. Now the Carno's turning radius was pretty spot on. You can see there, pretty much a pivot on the spot turn. You know, it's not too big, it's not too small. It's a really good turning radius and something that you can definitely decently use. The only problem I have with the Carno is that he moves so much when you're moving that it gets very disorientating. Like his half back body just shakes, like his whole butt shakes. So it's really funny, so do take that into mind. He does have a pretty good turning radius. The Allo, on the other hand, is obviously a little bit wider than the Carno, obviously because the Allo is a little bit bigger than the Carno, but you know, still a really good movement speed turning circle, so I wouldn't worry too much about these guys' turning radius. Okay, next up we had their melee damage to test. So we've got a trike over here, very vulnerable trike that's not doing anything, and you can see here the Carno, actually he has a saddle on. Let's just quickly grab that saddle off this trike here. This is just for testing purposes. Obviously, the saddle is going to reduce the amount of damage that the trike will take. There we go, that's better. I didn't notice that saddle. So you can see here, the Carno is able to hit 44 damage with his primary attack. We didn't actually cover their abilities yet, but the Carno does have a primary attack of a bite and a secondary attack which does a little bit more of a knockback, but it does a same amount of damage as his primary attack. It actually does quite a bit of a knockback. You can see that the trike does get launched back quite a bit. Obviously, the smaller the dino, the more it's going to get launched. But other than that, the Carno doesn't really have any other abilities other than that. Both of his attacks have knockbacks, which you can see there, but that's all the Carno really has going for himself. Now, the Allo, on the other hand, gets a pack bonus when there's 2 or more Allos in its vicinity. It gets like a Shroud of Red, and it gains the ability to Gnash, which does a bleed damage over time. So it's 5% of the target's health over 10 seconds. And it also gains a little roar ability while in a pack. But you can see here, the Allo's damage is exactly the same as the Carno's. So the only two things separating these guys are their amount of health. So this is going to be an interesting battle to the end, and we're going to have to be very careful how we play it out. Okay, next up we tested who could gather the most. Now, my honest opinion is that the Allo will gather more because the Carno does hit the same as the Allo, but the Allo is just bigger, so it makes sense for the Allo to be able to gather more. So here we go. You can see there, 70 raw meat, 48 hide, 7 raw prime meat, and 4 keratin. Not a bad amount of meat that you can get. So, you know, it's obviously eaten some. You can see there, 20, 40, 50, 60, so about 70 raw meat and 7 raw prime meat, which is pretty good. We actually got more on these stegos than we did on the last ones, on the last test that we did with the Rex and the Allo. So now it's the Carno's turn, and like I said, I think the Carno will grab less than the Allo, and I was pretty right in that. 53 hide, 69 raw meat, and only 5 raw prime meat. Sorry, 6 raw prime meat. Not much of a difference, but still a tiny bit of a difference. You know, that 1 raw prime meat can make the difference between a tame coming out with extra taming effectiveness or not. So the Allo is the winner of the gathering rate as well. So do take that into mind when planning on taming up either of these guys. Alrighty, so next up we're going to go to do the battle to the death. We are actually going to unclaim the Allo and get the Carno to attack, just so the Carno gets in a few extra hits, because obviously it's on 420 health. I mean, we could make them attack each other at the same time, but I feel like the Carno does need the extra advantage for itself. So let's just get this set up, and we'll bring you guys back when we're ready. Alrighty, and we're ready to go. The Carno's set to attack the Allo. The Allo is unclaimed. It is on aggressive, so it should attack at the same time. And it could honestly be anyone's game. It looks like... Oh god, okay, never mind. Whoa! Okay, cluster of other dinos getting involved. Oh my god, this wasn't supposed to happen. The poor Allo just got absolutely shredded by everything in the vicinity. We're just gonna leave those rabble over there, and we're gonna go find a new location to do this. Okay, so we're at a new location. They are ready to go. We actually got a really cool spawn in Allo. It's like green and black. It looks really cool. The dinos are set. We're going to get them underway. Here we go. Let's see if this battle works out better than it did before. The Carno is the first to get the attacks in. The Allo seems preoccupied. It's going for the... I don't understand the mechanics. It's got a dino attacking it, and it chooses to go for the other dinos. But it looks like the Carno is still taking damage, whether that be from the Ankies or the actual Allo. No, the Allo... Oh, the Anki actually killed it. So... This is a horrible testing, but honestly, I think the Allo would have easily come out on top. The Allo does have the extra 200 health, which would make the big difference. Obviously, the Carno would do quite a bit of damage to it, but you know, it wouldn't do enough to kill it. It would probably leave the Allo on about 100 health or so. So I would definitely recommend getting yourselves an Allo. Honestly, I don't find Carnos valuable whatsoever. You could easily replace them with Allos, you know, even Raptors or Rexes. I think Raptors are better than Carnos, to be honest with you. But Rexes, you know, Carnos I feel are insignificant nowadays with everything that you can tame. Instead, Dire Bears, whatnot, you know, Megatheriums. I'd definitely go for an Allo over a Carno. They just don't have anything that every other dino doesn't have. So that's just my opinion. Obviously, you guys are able to formulate your own. But that'll pretty much conclude today's video, guys. Let me know what you thought of it down below. Let me know if you'd like to see more. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.